This brings us up to our competition on-road award. And this is John Goldman with his 1957 Mondial 250 Grand Prix double overhead cam. Amazing motorcycle.
Mostly in Italy, some here. I want to call out especially David Harris and his assistant Trash at the Zen House in Point Arena, who did the final mechanical sorting. This thing runs great now and everything works. But it's a 10-year restoration. Giancarlo Morbidelli did a lot in his museum workshop. It then went to a guy named Roberto Totti, north of Bologna, who put it together. And it sat in Florence for a while, and I finally brought it back here. Finished it in the US. Evan Wilcox did some fine tuning on the bodywork. Pete the painter, Pete Mistos, did the final painting, and David did the final mechanical. Again, this bike second in the World Championship in '57. A double overhead cam, double head design, and they made 2 of these particular engines. There were 5 250s made in total, but only 2 with this engine configuration. I believe it's the only correct Mondial 250 double overhead cam dustbin faired bike in the world. At least I haven't seen another correct one. So that's why it took 10 years. So, and if hopefully a lot of you heard it run, because it's an incredible sound. I've had the bike 15 years.
Let's hear it.
So John, for the uninitiated, assuming there's no side wind, what would the top speed of this bike be?
137 miles per hour with the fairings. I think the fairings added about 15 miles per hour to the top end. Now the reason you didn't see this after 57, you didn't see these fairings. You saw them in 56, most bikes. In 57, every bike on the GP grid had these fairings. If you happen to see, I had a couple photographs out there by the bike. And one of the bikes showed the starting grid at Imola in April 1957. Every one of those GP bikes had the top, but there was a problem with that. In crosswinds, they were unstable. Most of these guys did not have access to wind tunnels. Mondial actually did. They were able to use air Machi's wind tunnels. So theirs worked, but some of these didn't work too well, and there were a lot of crashes, a lot of very high-speed crashes. Plus the brakes, these bikes got going so fast, and the tire technology and the brake technology wasn't really up to the task. I mean, 137 miles an hour, pretty fast for 57. Anyway, after 57, this type of dustbin fairing, it's called, its nickname, Mercy fairing, was banned. And from that point on in GP racing, both wheels and tires had to be fully exposed. So this is one of the reasons you don't see these bikes much, because after 57, these fairings were destroyed. They were not generally used, so they couldn't be saved. No point to save them, who cared? They were thrown away.
Beautiful motorcycle. 137 in 1957 is impressive, but also out of a 250. That is something else. Amazing motorcycle.
Yeah. I hope you all heard it running earlier. John fired it off.
Shut it up!
That might come a little later.
Start it up!
Sponsored by Beltone.
You can fire it up again later, but it needs a roller starter. This is not the sort of thing you push a button or it's not. Okay.
Yeah.
Roller starter.
Hopefully, yeah.
Which we can start again later.
John, beautiful motorcycle. Thank you again for being here. This brings us to our competition off-road award winner, and this is Clad Williams with his 1975 Husqvarna 360 flat tracker.
All right, what can you tell us about your bike?
1975, pretty much period build. It took me about 14 months part-time to get it to where it's at. I had some of the parts and some of the pieces to it for probably close to 10 years. And it was kind of a bucket list item I could get done. Fresh nickel. It's an original Shawarma champion chassis with a GP1 engine in it. Chiriani, pony suspension. It's basically, you know, a short tracker. You know, it's what it's basically made for, purpose built. You know.
Growing up in the South, I used to know a lot of people at short track. They head out, put an XR 750 and a short tracker in there, and go out for 6 months and try and cherry pick county fairs and stuff like that to make money. And they come back after about 5 days, usually with a sound that says find more horsepower, and then they go back out again. And they just throw these in there. But you used to see these. This is Champion made a lot of frames for them, and this is the frame, the setup back then. And then you just, you know, the engine plates, you could put whatever engine you wanted there. Yamaha, Kawasaki, Bultaco, a lot of times they had their own frames because they built a purpose-built short tractor, you know. But that was kind of a golden era to see guys out there just, you know, banging heads on these things. I'm Sharon did a great job.
Beautiful motorcycle, and you know, it's, as much as it represented the golden era, it's coming back. Flat tracking's coming back. Thank goodness, you know. It is. It's pure American racing, and you know, chatting with Mert and Wayne and Kenny today, all these guys came through the flat tracks. So great to see the history of it, and nice to know it's on its way back. Thank you. This brings us to a extremely popular class of motorcycles here at this show, and we're really grateful for it. It's a very hot sector in the motorcycle arena right now, and I'm talking about custom modified bikes. This is our second place winner. This is Richard Mitchell with his 1968 BSA Thunderbolt. Watch your side stand. There you go. This bike is gorgeous.
All right, what can you tell us about your bike?
Well, it started out as a 68 frame, basically, of a Thunderbolt. It was kind of bought as a basket case, and like a literal basket case. Most of the stuff the guy sold to me was in a clothes hamper. And yeah, so this is the first British bike I've ever owned. It's actually the only second bike I've ever really messed with. So it was like a huge learning curve. And it was originally going to be like a 6-month build in my head, and it ended up being over 2.5 years. And but got finished, and this is what it is.
Well, this is great. It's really good to see people, you know, getting involved in buildings again. I mean, for years I grew up and everybody wanted everything restored dead accurate. And it's nice to see people taking liberties. It's got the girder front end on it. It's going back rigid. I remember when I first got into motorcycles, friends of mine were building stuff like this. You know, back then we'd stick the license plate in the spokes in the rear and so forth. And so forth. This is nice. It's got a lot of nice things going on with it. Thanks for sharing it with us.
Beautiful motorcycle. You know, there's no rules in custom bike building, so it's nice to see the different interpretations of it. This is a gorgeous BSA. Thank you. This brings us to our first place winner in the custom modified class. This is Brian Thompson, Triumph Tiger. Brian, we've seen you up here before. You've done it again. It's a beauty.
That's great. What can we tell you? Tell us.
Well, I got inspired by Eddie Mulder on this gas tank. It took me a long time to find this particular model. And I always liked the Vincent black and gold, and just put my touches on this. But I come from a racing background, so this bike is a lot of fun to ride. It's super light, but I just wanted to build something custom, not over the top, but a lot of little details.
It's pretty nice. It's almost a traditional type, because I can remember seeing these in the 50s and 60s built up the same way. It's got the early, what they call the martini shaker exhaust going on it. You know, it's got the racing magneto, which, you know, believe me, you need all the spark you can with these. You know, it's got the early style front end. This is really nicely done. Thanks for bringing it.
These custom bikes are amazing, and the popularity is really something else. It's bringing a lot of new people to the bike world as well, so keep building them. So we've combined our extraordinary bicycles and our scooter category together, and here is the winner. This is Soban Ellis, the 1971 New York Police Department Lambretta. It's an L1150 Special.
Just made it of the hill.
All right. What can you tell us about the history of this?
Well, basically, I found it on a group in Facebook about a couple of years ago. I've been looking for one for about 3 years, and I found one. And it was basically some twisted metal and some rust, and mostly rust. I got it to 2nd Avenue Scooters in Phoenix. I was living in Australia at the time. That's why I just speak English. And this is Eric from 2nd Avenue, and I worked with him. We found, amazingly, the second one, which we used to donate some parts, and Eric basically put it together. I did some of the research, found some of the parts, and this is what we have. He finished it on July the 3rd last year. July the 5th I showed up from Sydney at his house in Phoenix, and July the 6th I got on it, and then I rode it to Duluth, Minnesota.
Oh, this is great. Well, all the police bikes, no wonder all the donuts disappeared early today. Well, thanks for sharing with us. It's really unusual. Man, brothers are really neat bikes, and a lot of people don't realize how fast they were. Yeah. Well, great. Thanks a lot.
If you need more room to shoot. No, I'm good.
Okay.